Morning and welcome back to Home Renovation Experts. Steve back here again on day 4 of the garden room build. So what is up for today? What am I up to? This is a good question because, there you go, the rods are now in. Obviously, they ain't gone nowhere. I've just put the weed membrane down, which is a piece of piss, you don't need to see me do it now. You just put it over the top of the rod, tiny little knife cut across where it's going to go over, slide it down. I start at one end, cut the first one, get it on there, then put it tight all the way to the far end, get it onto the next one at the far end, cut it, boom, and you just run down the line because you know it's nice and taut between the two ends then, which is when you slide it down, it's beautiful and it fits. Look, outdoor carpet, looks lovely, doesn't it? When you get rid of the dirt and soil, you can just see the rods. It looks sexy, doesn't it? It's a quality system, and the stuff that I use for the membrane is like the highest quality stuff, so it's really, really thick gear, fluffy, just really, really nice, and none of that cheap crap. Again, you know, there's a building over top of this, so there's not going to be that much sunlight getting underneath. But again, just over-engineer stuff, you know, this stuff is not expensive. Drop it down, it's done. You don't have to worry about it. Think about it, sorted. Happy days. Right, now, what was I going to say? Now, the next part is going to be putting the nuts on me threads. There's a joke in there somewhere. Keep it to yourself. Right, so I'm going to do that. But what I'm going to do is show you a little trick using one of these. There are a few ways to do this, but I find this works quite nicely. There's also a very cheap and effective way of doing it. So I'm going to get set up and then I'll show you how to do this. Right, so what you obviously do, because it's very simple, put it on a drill, find out a lot easier than trying to twist it with your hand, really, really good. Stick it on reverse, get it onto said nut, and all you're going to do I know, it's genius, isn't it? And don't be fooled. I mean, some of them will go down a piece of cake. Some of them you will still have to manually do a bit, then you try this again. That just happens to be a really good one, a good demonstration one to make it look like I know exactly what I'm doing. But that, generally speaking, will do 85% of them quite merrily, which just saves being there, handling it down and running it all down yourself, which is a bit of a pain in the arse. Because you think, like, two nuts on each one. I'll show you why in a minute. Times 20 rods, that's 42 of these buggers I've got to do. If I've got to do them all by hand, that's a pain in the arse. Now, some people say, why don't you chop the rods before you do this? Yeah, there is that argument. The slight thing is, if you cut the rods, you don't end up with a perfectly flat surface, and if you do an angle cut, trying to get the nut on can also be a complete and utter pain in the arse. The second thing is, you'd have to cut all the rods twice, which is also a pain in the arse, because you have to cut them roughly where you think you're going to be, obviously slightly taller enough the wood where you think it's going to be, and then once the wood's on, you'd have to cut it again, and there's work involved in that. So you sort of think, to make it a bit easier, just do it as they are. You can got these little ways to speed it up. Once you've got two nuts on, happy days, you're done. So yeah, that's the reason why I don't cut the rods first. That answered a few questions, hopefully. Righty dorky. So, nuts are now all on. So 2 on each one, all the way around, easy peasy. Now, when you're doing this, and you're going under permitted development, 2.5 meters is your maximum height, okay? Now that measurement is taken from the lowest point of contact to the building to the ground, okay? So obviously this lay level goes down pitched like that. So I know that my measurement will have to come off the back because that is the highest point. So what I do is get my level, which is just over there, you can just see it, figure out which of these 2 of the corners is going to be, not this one, that's this one, but the ones that are going to be at the back, that one, and the one over there, which one of those is going to be closest to the ground. Once I figure that, because you can see the soil, actually this area kind of comes up this way a little bit, so this one is going to be the lowest one, so that one's done up right to the ground, easy peasy. I now know that is my starting point for my leveling. So what I then do is grab my level as such, put it on the first one, and then all I have to do is drop these nuts all the way across so I get to a level point. So you can now see little bubble, beautiful and level. So what the trick is here though is that all levels run out very slightly, so you don't want to keep doing it on the same orientation. So once you've done like the first 3, which it can easily span depending on the size of your level, and you ideally want to use like a bigger level than just like a small one that'll go from 1 to 1, hitting 3 is a good idea. Before you go to the next lot, what you do is pick it up, turn it around, and send it off to the next one. Still picking up the last 2, so you're still always taking it from the last one. So you're basically just leveling one at a time once you've kind of got them started. Level up to that one, flip it again, and now it's going to hit over to that corner over there. And there you go, see, like that. So you just keep doing that. So if you have got an imbalance in your level, you're adjusting for it constantly as you kind of go. Once you know that these ones are set and done, take whatever you want to do. I just got some water pump pliers here. Nip these bad boys up. That's why you've got two nuts, so it just secures it, so that is never going to undo or whatever. What will happen is the metal pole will come across here and boom, sit on there, and then the wood goes on top of that. So what I need to do now is, again, just work the same level all the way through. I'll take my level now, I'll work in that direction, I'll work behind me, work in the center, and then as I kind of do that one, I will then take the level, say, there, and bring it into the center, from the center back to that one. So I'm constantly working all the lines at different angles to make sure that I get the perfect level throughout, okay? And that is how you level off your base plates. It's so exciting, I love doing this stuff. Oh, right, anyway, I'm gonna do those up, and I'll get back to you with the base plate bits. I've now leveled all my nuts off beautifully, so there you go. All done, so you can see at the back, she's down to the deck, which is beautiful. And across, when you kind of get the level and you work it across, you can see depending on like where it is on the ground, these ones are a bit higher up, so it's going to be the height at the front of the building, which is fine and dandy. So what you can now do is, just to double check, and I do suggest double checking because it's always better to do it now, is you grab your level, like so, and just randomly chuck it. So don't forget, like, do it across weird angles. You know, anywhere we can get two points of contact between a level, chuck it across the two, at every point, just to double check that you've got a nice level. Do that all the way around, because you might need to make a few adjustments, but you shouldn't really, but it's just peace of mind. So I now know all these bad boys are beautifully level, so now I'm going to get some steel plates and whack those on. Now I get asked all the time, this Steve, putting those like metal plates on is really difficult. I know, look at this, they're on. Literally just slide it down, it's just in place. They will be sat in that orientation, obviously once the wood's on top, but in a minute they can do what they like. But now you can look at this, look. That is now your foundational points done. This thing is as strong as a mother trucker, like Dwayne the Rock Johnson. And now I'm ready to put the wood on. So what I'm going to do, oh, I've got a cup of coffee. Well, first of all, I'm going to drink this. Second cup of coffee. Well, it's Sunday, you know, so it's nice to have an extra bit of like oomph in your system. So for this, for the frame part of this, it's 4x3, C24 wood, tannalized, all that kind of good groovy stuff, so it's tough as old nails. You've got that there. It's going to be sat on the other orientation, so it's not going to be that way around, it'll be twisted up. I'll show you that in a minute. I'll get it roughly into place and I'll show you exactly how I mark up and how I drill the holes, because here we go. So using the technology that is wood, I'm using that to prop this up so I can show you hands-free what I'm doing. So that was in against that one. So what you can see is I place it on the rods like this all the way through, oversized it, so obviously this is the end part, so that's going to run across there. Don't care, I'll chop that later. Same down the other end, just overshoots, jobs are good. Now all I need to do is grab, by the way, if you're not seeing these pencils, it's worth getting. See this? Self-holstering and pencil sharpener built into the end, which is amazing. So good. So he's putting it behind here and dropping it, just constantly like sheathing it, holstering it. And it's job good. So all I need to do now is literally go above it, figure out where the mark's going to be through the centre of the wood, mark it, mark it, mark it, mark it, and then once you've got that mark, what did I do with it? I tried to set this up for you so you can see. So for argument's sake, because I need to use my hands to actually film this, got a mark there, put my straight edge on it, mark straight through, get my tape measure, work out where the centre mark is going to be, drill a hole through there. And for that, I use one of these lovely auger bits. Let's see if I can take it out of the packet. I have to unwind it. Give me 2 seconds. I'll show you the exact thing that I use. One of those bad boys. So this one, what's this one? 26 mil. 26, 28. So basically, 2 mil I think wider than the actual hole to get over the actual rod. So still quite tight, but just nice. So what I'll do is, once I've got that, drill obviously straight through my mark there, done and dusted all the way through, and then that is me with my holes. Once I've got the holes cut, I'll simply line it onto the rods and hammer it down. Because you're kind of going across quite a big level, it'll struggle to kind of get down on its own. But you know, just a big hammer, sledgehammer, whatever, get it down, get it on the plates, easy peasy. So I'll go off, mark these, drill them, and show you it on. So all I do now is, like I say, grab the drill a hole, and then what I forgot to mention was you need to notch them out. So like over here, so your space for the nut to do it up, because you don't want it sat on top of the wood because that get in the way of the bloody floor. We do not want that. So all I do is set my saw depth to that of one of the nuts just over, run it through like so, and I just get a chisel and just chisel out the bottom of it, and it comes straight out, easy peasy. Top notch, get it? Because I'm notching. Oh, come on, that was all right. So I'm going to do that, and I'll slide this one on as well. Right, it's been a little while. How am I getting on? Very well, thank you for asking. I got it. That is the basic solid structure. The foundation's very nearly in. So I'm currently working on this end, and I thought it'd be worthwhile showing you what I do in all the corners. The corners are not just floating, they're not just like not connected, okay? So where you've got the two rods, over here and over here, beautiful. I then send in 250mm tech screws, which is basically not a boxing knot in the best of nick, but it does the job. So you can see 250mm. So the thread outside, so it just pulls itself all the way through, hex head. What I also do is I always countersink them first, all right? Because if you don't, that bolt sits flush with the wood. And you go, well, does that really matter? Well, actually yes, because when you drop the 11mm OSB on the outside of the wall, sometimes it's a pain in the ass because it just kicks it out of the bottom and just becomes a bit of a fart. So for the sake of like 2 seconds, just like countersinking it, done, screw straight in, and then that corner's not going to move. The other thing I do, I will show you. So I just set this one in. Done, you see it pulls the corner. Then all I have to do is a hand saw, chop this joint off, done and dusted. Same as this one. Literally, I just put this bit of wood over the top of it whilst I kind of cut the holes. Once I've done that, I then just hand sawed that. Job's a good one. That's done that. The other thing I do is, before I zip these corners in with the tech screws, I never do up these bolts here because it's still loose, loosey-goosey. Because sometimes the wood is bent, so you just might need to lift this bit up, push it down, vice versa. So while it's still flexible, you can still move stuff around. Get it lined up smooth there. Put your screws in. That locks it in place. Now you can do your nuts up. And you know it's all square, all plumb, all happy, and just like me, very, very chuffed. So right, that is them kind of in. I've put the other screws in, tech screws in that side. So what I'll do is, I'll just nip these bad boys up. You'll notice across here, there is one that's so low, he won't have a nut. Just there, not a problem at all. There's enough on there, I ain't bothered. It ain't going nowhere with the weight of the building on top of it. So that's happy days. Yes, I could chisel it out a bit more, but then you start to eat into the structure and integrity of the wood a little bit. That little bit, fine, don't mind. Even though it's across the plate, not the end of the world. But because it's pinned in there, it's like, it ain't gonna do nothing. So I'm gonna leave that one as is. So I'll do these 4 up, chop that a bit off, and that is that structure done. Not bad. And it's just taken me so far to get all these done, level it all up. What's time now? 1 o'clock, so that's 4, 5 hours. That is good going. It's been a minute. How am I getting on now? Well, I think you're fine. Rather well. Joists going in. So what I'm doing here, and this is a great top tip, is basically you want to every 400mm. So I've marked up my 400mm, 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 400mm. So they're kind of in line, which is perfect. But I don't know if that's still recording. Yes, sorry, I had a notification go on my phone. 400mm, 400mm, but I don't trust the marks because, you know, wood is wood and all that kind of stuff. Now, where did I put that little thing? Here we go. So what I do is, I cut myself a little wee template. And a little wee template is very useful because what it does is, as you put the first one on, you then stick it between there. It's tight to get in and out because obviously hammered it home. But there's space out there, get it lined up, and then what I'm doing is firing 265mm nails into that direction, and then same on the other side. And that way I know that these are perfectly spaced every single time. Each one of these is the same size bay. Now that's important, well, makes it a bit easier, is that when I come to actually cut my insulation to put in there, every single piece of insulation is going to be cut exactly the same. Whereas if I just kind of eyeball it and done it on the rough 400 mark, you're always going to be a couple of mil out here, a couple of mil out there. And it just means you start ending up with like slightly obtuse angles. Is that the word? You know what I mean? Odd angles. So it doesn't go in quite as nice. So by doing this, everything's squared, everything's beautiful, everything is the same. Obviously except for the last bay at the end because it just works out to have to be a teeny tiny one, but that's fine. What I'm now going to do is do exactly the same thing again on this side. And what I'll also do is follow these lines because sometimes you can offset them. But I'm going to run these lines all the way through the same. So when I'm putting my camera deck flooring down, I know just follow that line, put level line on the floor as I kind of mark it all the way through, and I know exactly where my screws are going as opposed to like a board that kind of goes between both is a bit of a pain because you have to try to figure out the joist here and the joist in the centre. So I just run them all the same, done. It isn't just going to stay nailed in either because like I say these 65mm just kind of hold it in place. I'll pick up some joist hangers and I'll put those on as well. So basically they're already in place. It makes it a lot easier to get the joist hangers on as well because you're trying to half float in, kind of hold it. That'll make it a lot faster. Put those on afterwards as well. So crack on this side, and then that'll be it. But you can see it's coming along quite nicely now. So I'll back in a minute, so how far I can get. Right, that is it. I'm done for the day now. See, halfway through, I've got those ones to finish. But that's not a bad day, that. I mean, in fact, pretty chuffed to say that is an epic day. I mean, look, on your Jack Jones, yeah, it's like I've done it before. Anyway, that is it for the day. Don't forget to hit the bell icon, hit subscribe, all those wonderful things that you guys could do. Any questions, ping them in. And apart from that, have a bloody nice day, whatever day you're watching this, and I'll be back tomorrow. See you then.